Welcome to Capitol Hill on another busy day in federal parliament. The Defence Force got new chiefs today. The new head of the Defence Force is David Hurley. There are new service chiefs as well. But as Lieutenant General Hurley reminded a press conference and as the Prime Minister and Opposition Leader reminded the Parliament later in the day, their appointments come in the shadow of the deaths of 3 soldiers in Afghanistan in recent days. The Treasurer was busy with the news that the economy went backwards in March. He says it's because of the floods and cyclones earlier this year. He says the underlying economy is strong, but the opposition is pointing to the dangers if the mining industry strikes trouble. The Foreign Minister was at the Press Club outlining the case for Australia to join the UN Security Council. He says he's quite happy doing his job, and that's where he intends to stay. Tony Abbott was speaking to the mining industry today, urging them to join his campaign against a carbon tax, and there was a debate in Senate estimates and in the Parliament about the meaning of a cat's meow. Joining me to discuss some of these issues is Labor MP Dick Adams and Coalition MP Wyatt Roy. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Dick Adams, the economy went backwards in March, the biggest quarterly fall in 20 years. How hard is it for the government to say that everything's really all right? This is perhaps just a one-off.
Not that hard, because I think we've been growing for a long time and this was expected. We were going to take a hit. The dollar is really high. We've got major flooding that we had in Queensland. We have to rebuild. So there's going to be a lift out of that as we go through to that as well. So there's going to be always ups and downs, and we've taken a bit of a downer this time. People was expecting it. How that runs on, there's a lot of opportunities for growth. Manufacturing, because of the dollar, the price of the dollar has got some tough things in front of it, but innovation, ideas is where what we're talking about, and as we go down towards a less carbon economy, that's what we'll be doing. Innovation, new ideas.
Wyatt, your seat is in Queensland. You would know better than the rest of us how the state is recovering, particularly how the areas the Treasurer singled out, some mining industries and tourism, is recovering. Is the recovery going to be quick enough to make the March quarter figures just a one-off?
I think we have seen recovery in Queensland, but the picture in the economy is much bigger than just the flood recovery. I think what we've seen today is clear vulnerability in the economy. And my opponent here spoke about manufacturing. Well, the question really is, what is a carbon tax going to do to vital industries in the economy like manufacturing, like small business that are genuinely struggling out there? This is what these figures show. Genuine struggle for people in the economy. New taxes aren't going to help people to get onto their feet, to recover and to grow the economy. So there are some significant challenges out there, and to suggest that a carbon tax won't affect manufacturing, I think is quite misleading.
Dick, there are still areas of weakness in the economy, while the Treasurer said the underlying picture is in fact probably one of more evenness than's been suggested recently. There are still some areas of weakness. You may be seeing some of those in Tasmania. How much do the sectors that are struggling need to hear from the federal government that they may be able to help, that the focus is not all on mining?
Well, doom and gloom is the opposition's call. You have to try to be positive. There's always ups and downs. There is in every year, every figures. There's you point to different matters. There's always need to look for government assistance, government help, government direction, new policy. There's changes taking place constantly, and you have to be aware of that. But if you look at the fundamentals of the Australian economy, they're very sound, and I believe they'll stay sound. And all the predicaments are that way. Where we go, unemployment is pointing down. It looks like we'll be struggling to meet our labour needs in Australia. We need to build our skill base continuously. So I think we've got opportunities, but there's going to be hits on the roundabout.
Wyatt, one of the things that business is struggling with, particularly those sectors that aren't mining, is the high dollar. There's very little the government can do to push the value of the dollar down without trashing the economy, is there?
Well, let's put a local context on this. In my electorate, I have 10% unemployment. Small business, retail, tourism, light industry all require confidence in the marketplace. Now, there is not a lot of confidence out there in the marketplace, and I think those figures reflect that. Putting new taxes into that are not going to inspire confidence in the marketplace. And you talked about assistance to industry, assistance to small business. Well, there is no assistance for small business. The best thing that the government can do is get out of the way, stop putting new taxes on people, and let them get on with the job and thrive and employ people. And I talk to small business owners every day in my electorate. They don't ask for new taxes; they just ask for a fair go. And I think if we can do that, if we can get out of the way, let them do what they do best, that's the best thing that you can do. You have to draw a line and say, where do you stop compensating, and how far can you go?
If I can ask you, if we can move on to the carbon tax, Tony Abbott gave a speech to a mining industry conference today, asking the industry to join his fight against the carbon tax. He says. He told the gathering, I know none of you like being political activists. You are miners, not activists. But then asked them to join. The mining industry has been quite happy to be activist on the tax question, hasn't it, as it did with the mining tax?
Absolutely, and rightly so. I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs at stake here. There are blue-collar workers out there that will lose their jobs if the government brings in the carbon tax and the mining tax. Now, we don't want to see that. What we want to see is an environmental benefit for the Australian people, but not at the expense of so many jobs. So there's bipartisan support for the science of climate change. There's bipartisan support for a 5% reduction in emissions. We just have a very big difference about how we want to go there. The Coalition believes in an incentive-based approach to get private enterprise doing what they do best. The Labor Party believes in taxes, and there's no policy problem that they don't believe a tax can fix, whether it's alcohol or the mining industry or the environment.
Dick, is it a problem for you though if Tony Abbott is successful with his call for a miners' revolt against the carbon tax? It's a difficult enough policy to sell, isn't it?
I think miners are smart enough to understand that there's some realities, and one of the realities is that there's going to be less carbon in the world into the future, and they need to be a part of that. So we need to find that solution. I don't agree that all your side agrees that the climate science is agreed to. I think you've got many in your own party that don't agree to that.
None
I think they've said it. No, well, not that I've known of. None of them have spoken in the caucus against it. So I think there is a need for us to do that. I don't believe that your policy has any credibility. It gives incentive to the large polluters, but it doesn't have anything. Their costs are still going to go up as they reform their system and reduce carbon. That's going to put the price up of energy, and therefore, but nobody's going to get any compensation for that because you haven't got anything to pay out of your system. So your policy, I think, is a damn squib, and I just don't think it's going to work.
Wyatt, will it be more and more difficult for the coalition to fight against the tax, to continue with its single message that the tax is bad, as more detail comes out and more people begin to focus on what the detail of the tax actually involves?
Well, I think as more detail comes out, this will unravel further. I mean, I talked before about 10% unemployment in my electorate, small business. The Labor Party refused to talk about compensating small business. I don't think they're going to do it.
But isn't the way to do it to compensate households so they continue to spend their money with small business?
The best way to do it is get out of the way and don't put taxes on people so that they can thrive. Are you going to compensate for petrol? That's what I want to know. The Prime Minister won't answer that question in the Parliament. 6.5 cents a litre rise in petrol, that's going to hurt families, it's going to hurt businesses, and it's going to hurt jobs.
Well, this is the doom. This is going to happen. Well, it's not reality. There isn't any decision being made about petrol yet. So that's still a part of the mix. But, the price of carbon has to be dealt with, or we have to get a price on carbon, and then we have to trade it. That's the way to deal with it. If it costs me an extra $10 a week to live, that's fine, and that's how it should be. And we need to do that. I don't want my family to end up paying $100.
Is it going to cost $10?
We don't know. We don't know. If it's $10,
$10, hallelujah, we've got the compensation on the table.
Do you mind paying $20?
Well, talk to the pensioners.
You'll have to pay the taxes because your party is about putting up...
Don't tax them, you don't have to compensate them.
If we could move on, gentlemen, to the happenings in the Senate Estimates Committee, and we'll just have a quick look at Senator Wong, the Finance Minister, and her interchange with Liberal Senator David Bushby.
If I can finish now.
Well.
Oh, yes. Why don't you meow when a woman does that? That's a good idea. That's really, it is just extraordinary. The blokes are allowed to yell, but if a woman stands her ground, you want to make that kind of comment. It's sort of schoolyard politics, mate.
We just want to ask the Secretary of the Treasury about Treasury.
I'm talking...
Order now.
It's just extraordinary.
Yeah. Minister...
No, not sensitive, mate. Just the...
Minister?
Dick Adams, David Bushby has apologised unreservedly to Penny Wong for meowing at her in an estimates inquiry. Should that be the end of the matter?
He shouldn't have done what he done, and it was sexist, and I think it reflects there must be a culture within that group of men that still accept that you can be sexist like that. I mean, there's no doubt that a meow is a sexist comment, and they were having a to and fro. Now, it's men and women in the Parliament, in the Senate now, and we do get robust in debates and discussions. But there's no need to be used terms like that. And he was totally and utterly wrong. And it's up to Penny Wong whether she's accepted his apology or not.
Wyatt Roy, do you think the apology was enough? Is there behaviour, is there an attitude that needs to be addressed further?
I don't think anyone wants to see political debate go down this place in our nation's federal parliament, and the senator apologised and was right to do so. But I think the Labor Party pushing this to make a political point is very hypocritical. From personal experience, when I was running for Parliament, the Labor Party wanted to talk about one thing and one thing alone, and that was my age. I remember countless debates with my Labor opponent when we'd sit here, and I'd try and talk about the 10% unemployment. He'd only talk about my age. I only wanted to talk about my age. They have a very, very bad record on this, and they are very hypocritical to try and continue a political argument on this. And I know this from personal experience.
Nobody has said anything about your age in the Parliament.
Lindsay Tanner did. Lindsay Tanner did when he was here. And look what he says about politics now and what it's degenerated into. So I think it is a dangerous place in this Parliament when we should be talking about the future of our country that we go down this path. The Senator was wrong to do it, and the Labor Party are wrong to continue this argument.
Dick Adams, it was quite a tense moment in Parliament when the Minister, Tanya Plibersek, got up to make similar points that you've made, and the opposition took offence to that, asking her to withdraw. Should she have withdrawn it just to try and lower the temperature of the debate?
I don't think there was anything that she said that needed to be withdrawn. The opposition was very tense about it because they knew that their party had done wrong, and they may have a culture that they need to deal with and they haven't dealt with. The leader of the opposition was very quickly to get to his feet to say, there's been an apology, it's all over, when it wasn't all over at all. I mean, I think it needed to be aired and it needed to be discussed, and we need to know whether the Liberal Party does have a culture within it which has still got a lot of sexism in it.
Wyatt Roy, what did you think of the parliamentary debate today?
Well, as I said, I think it's disappointing that we see a parliament that degenerates into that when we should be talking about the future of the country. But the fact that Tanya Plibersek refused to withdraw shows the Labor Party are very keen to perpetuate these sorts of arguments, and they do it with a hypocritical nature and a guilty conscience. So I think they should be very careful about this. Let's get back on to talking about the future of the country.
And with that, Dick Adams and Wyatt Roy, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for that.
And thank you for joining Capitol Hill. Be back with us the same time tomorrow.